There was a time when a car wasn't just a way to get somewhere, it was freedom. When highways stretched endlessly across the prairies, and every turn felt like adventure. Canada had its own cars then, built for our roads, our winters, our lives. They had chrome, character, and stories written into their steering wheels. Today, most of them are gone, but the memories of those drives, those still shine. It was big, bold, and unmistakably Canadian. The Pontiac Laurentian rolled off Canadian assembly lines in the 1950s, and for decades it was the car that said you'd made it. Families packed it full for cross-country trips, with chrome glinting under prairie skies. It had style, weight, and that slow, confident grace of another time. The Laurentian wasn't built for speed. It was built for Sunday drives, for family photos by the lake, for pride in something truly our own. Born from the Chevelle, but made just for Canada, the Beaumont was our little secret. From the late 60s into the early 70s, you could find them in driveways across the country, solid, stylish, and proud of their maple leaf badge. It looked American, but it was built with a Canadian heart, the perfect symbol of our quiet independence. The Beaumont may have vanished from the roads, but for those who remember it, it'll always be a beauty of its own kind. Before SUVs ruled the highways, there was the Ford Meteor, the family car that could take you anywhere. It was built right here in Canada, sold only in Canada, and perfectly suited for our winters and our long open roads. The Meteor wasn't flashy, but it was faithful. It started on cold mornings and carried generations to school, work, and holidays. It was, simply put, the Canadian car you could count on. There was something dignified about the Mercury Monarch. It had chrome that caught the sunlight, seats that felt like a living room couch, and a quiet hum that spoke of comfort. Built in Canada, the Monarch was the bridge between luxury and familiarity. It looked sophisticated, but it belonged on your street. It was the kind of car you washed on Sundays and drove with pride every day, after in the 1960s, when every family dreamed of their first car. The Acadian Canso made that dream possible. Compact, affordable, and proudly Canadian, it rolled out of GM's Ontario plants with more heart than horsepower. The Canso wasn't built to impress, it was built to belong. And for young Canadians of that era, it was freedom on 4 wheels. In the heart of Hamilton, Ontario, stood one of the last Studebaker plants in the world. By the 1960s, the company was fading, but for a while, those Canadian-built cars kept the dream alive. The Studebaker Lark and Commander weren't just cars. They were symbols of craftsmanship, of men and women who believed in what they built. When the factory closed in 1966, it marked more than the end of a company. It was the end of a proud chapter in Canadian industry. Long, low, and impossibly graceful, the Pontiac Parisienne was Canada's idea of style. Built in Oshawa and loved from coast to coast, the Parisienne mixed American flair with Canadian restraint. It was the car of weddings, graduations, and long drives through cottage country. A little luxury that never tried too hard. Even today, when one glides by at a classic car show, you can almost hear the soft hum of the 70s. If you grew up in the 70s, you remember the Dodge Monaco or the Plymouth Fury. Big cars with big hearts, built for long stretches of the Trans-Canada Highway. Police cruisers, family wagons, road trip legends. They were tough, loud, and unmistakable. They drank gas like water, but no one cared, because back then the road was freedom, and these were the chariots of the open country. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't fast, but the AMC Gremlin was unforgettable. Small, boxy, and proudly strange, it became a Canadian icon in spite of itself. Teenagers loved it, parents tolerated it, and everyone had an opinion about it. The Gremlin may have looked odd, but it carried a kind of charm, the kind you can't design on purpose. Before cars came with screens and computers, there was the Biscayne, simple, strong, and endlessly reliable. It didn't turn heads, but it never let you down. Taxi fleets used it, families loved it, and for a decade it was the working-class car of Canada. The Biscayne proved that you didn't need flash or fame, just a good engine and a road that called your name. It wasn't Canadian by birth, but it became a part of our landscape. The Volkswagen Beetle. In the 60s and 70s, Beetles buzzed down Canadian roads like a friendly army, small, stubborn, and full of personality. It started every morning, even in -30. It didn't care about trends, it just kept going. For students, families, and first-time drivers, the Beetle was freedom on a budget and joy in a tiny round shell. Before cars got big and loud, there was the Ford Falcon, quiet, efficient, and built to last. In Canada, it was the car you could depend on. No fancy trim, no chrome excess, just good design and honest work. For young families starting out, or for anyone who wanted a car that simply worked, the Falcon was that reliable friend. It didn't try to impress. It just showed up, day after day, ready to go wherever life took you. There was nothing quite like an Oldsmobile Delta 88 gliding down the Trans-Canada Highway, long, smooth, and quiet. It felt more like a ship than a car, and for many Canadians, the big V8 under the hood, the gentle sway around corners, it turned every trip into a small adventure. The Delta 88 was the family vacation car, the highway king, the sound of summer itself. If you grew up in Canada in the 60s or 70s, someone in your neighborhood had an Impala. Sleek, strong, and built with presence, it was the car families dreamed of. Weddings, graduations, Sunday drives. The Impala was always there. When you bought one, it meant you'd made it, and for many, it was the last car they ever truly loved. Then came something new, small, quick, and dependable, the Datsun 510. At first it seemed foreign, but it quickly won Canadian hearts. It could handle snow, it ran forever, and it didn't ask for much. For a generation of Canadians, the 510 was proof that good things sometimes come in small packages, and that a little car could leave a big mark. If the 70s had a heartbeat, it might have sounded like the rumble of a Firebird engine. Sleek, fast, and pure attitude. The Firebird captured an era when cars were personality. It turned heads at stoplights, starred in movies, and for a lucky few, it was the dream car that made every street feel like a racetrack. The Firebird wasn't just a machine. It was youth, rebellion, and freedom on 4 roaring wheels. Then came the Cordoba, rich, refined, and unforgettable, with its famous rich Corinthian leather. It was the car for those who wanted something elegant, without leaving Canadian practicality behind. The Cordoba wasn't about speed. It was about comfort, about cruising quietly down the highway, the radio humming softly in the background, a rolling reminder that luxury once meant peace, space, and time to breathe. The Nova wasn't flashy, but it had something better, heart. It was small enough for the city, strong enough for the highway, and affordable enough for almost anyone. Teenagers loved it for its simplicity, and mechanics loved it for its honesty. The Nova was proof that sometimes the best cars aren't the ones that boast. They're the ones that just keep going. Every neighborhood had one. That long, shiny Ford LTD parked proudly in the driveway. It was the car of family road trips, Sunday drives, and big back seats that seemed endless. The LTD wasn't just transportation, it was part of the family. It carried hockey gear, groceries, and life's little moments. And when it finally rusted away, it felt like saying goodbye to a loyal friend. There came a time when the factories grew quiet. The signs came down, the lots emptied out, and the cars that once filled our lives faded into memory. But those cars, the Laurentians, the Meteors, the Parisians, they weren't just metal and wheels, they were stories. They were the hum of summer highways, the warmth of family vacations, the pride of owning something built right here in Canada. And though they're gone, their reflections still live on in the chrome of memory, shining quietly every time we look back.
That other modes of
Thank you for
transportation
watching
withered and
Classical
died,
Canada.
leaving the commuter
Don't
with
forget
no
to
choice.
share your memories in the comments below, and subscribe for more journeys through our shared past.